Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, afternoon.
What can you tell me about your work?
My work focuses on understanding child abuse and child management from a criminologically and child protection perspective. I examine why maltreatment occurs, how offenders may behave, and how professionals can identify risk and respond effectively on my work. Also looks at the systems responsible for protecting children, including child protective services, law enforcement, schools, healthcare providers, and social service organizations. Research by Herbert and Bromfield found that multidisciplinary teams can improve responses to child abuse by bringing professionals from different fields together. My focus is therefore not only on understanding the crime, but also on improving communication and coordination among professionals. I believe effective child protection requires evidence-based decision-making, trauma-infused practices, and meaningful attention to child's voice.
Why do you study that issue or topic?
I study child abuse and maltreatment because children are among the most vulnerable members of society. They often depend on adults for safety, housing, food, education, medical care, and emotional support. When the adults' response for their care became abusive or neglectful, children may have very few options for protecting themselves. I am particularly interested in improving child protection responses because identifying child abuse is only the first step. What happens after a concern is reported can have a major effect on the child's safety, and future research by SAR at the determinations that childhood management can have lasting effects on stress system functioning. This research reinforms why early intervention and effective protection matter. I want my work to contribute to a system where children are heard, believed, protected, and connected with appropriate services.
What can you tell me about child abuse and child maltreatment?
Child maltreatment can include physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, and neglect. It can occur in different environments and can have immediate as well as long-term consequences. One challenge is that maltreatment is often difficult to identify because children may be afraid to disclose what happened, may not understand that certain behavior and abuse, or may fear consequences for themselves or their families. Another important issue is that different people may report the same situation differently. Cooley and Jackson found discrepancies among youth reports, caregiver reports, and case file information concerning child maltreatment. This finding is important because professionals should not rely on only one source when affecting safety concerns. Instead, they should carefully consider information from children, caregivers, professional records, and other appropriate sources. My work emphasizes child-centered assessment while maintaining professional objectivity and ensuring that decisions are based on critical evidence.
What is really new here?
What I believe is especially important is shifting the focus from simply responding to individual cases towards improving the entire child protection response. Child abuse investigations are necessary, but the system also needs to ask where the child is actually safer after the investigation. Research by Herbert and Bromfield supports multidisciplinary approaches to child abuse because professionals from different disciplines can cover different types of knowledge. My protective built on by emphasizing stronger communication among children protection workers, law enforcement, educators, medical professionals, mental health providers, and per prosecutors. Prosecutors. I also believe children's voices should be given greater attention during assessment research showing disparities between children reports and case records demonstrates why professional needs to listen carefully. to children rather than assuming that the written record tells the complete story. The goal is to complete a more coordinated and child-centered system.
Why does your research even matter? In other words, what is the so what?
My research matters because ineffective responses can allow children to remain exposed to harm. A report of abuse is not simply paperwork, it can represent a child who may be frightened, confused, or unable to protect themselves. The so what is that improving the response can particularly prevent additional victimization and reduce the long term effects of maltreatment. Research shows that childhood maltreatment can be associated with changes in the body's stress response system. That means the effects of maltreatment can expand far beyond the original incident. My research emphasized particularly situations such as misdelivery, compulsory trauma fused training, carefully documentation, child-centered interviewing, and better communication between agencies. Their stages help professionals recognize danger sooner and respond more effectively than the research can communicate directly to improve children's safety and well-being.
What do you hope will change because of your research?
I hope to see a shift towards a more concluded and child-centered and prevention-focused child protection system. I want agencies to communicate more effectively than working separately when a child is at risk. I also hope professionals will recognize that children need to be active, potentials, and coherent about their safety. Research by Colleen Jackson demonstrates that information about maltreatment can be depending on the source. Therefore, professionals should create appropriate opportunities for children to share their experiences while also evaluating information carefully and observantly. Ultimately, I want the system to measure success by more than the number of investigations completed. We should ask whether children are safer, whether their needs are being addressed, and whether families receive that reduced risk. My hope is children protection becomes more proactive rather than waiting until the situation becomes a crisis.
Why should taxpayers fund research like this?
Taxpayer funding for child maltreatment research is an investment in public safety and the well-being of future generations. Child abuse does not affect the individual child. The consequences can affect schools, health care systems, social services, and communities. Research helps agencies determine which interventions are effective and where resources should be directed. Herbert and Brownfield found evidence supporting multi-curricula approaches to child abuse response, demonstrating the value of evaluating how different professionals and systems can work together. Taxpayer funding also allows researchers to examine prevention
Right.
strategies, improve professional training, evaluate child protection programs, and identify ways to reduce repeated victimization. Investing in research means investing in better informed policies and practices. Among the public benefits when children are safer, families receive appropriate support, and professionals have evidence based on the tools mm, to maltreatment.
What is your message for change to stakeholders?
My message is simple: protecting children and requires all of us to work together. Child protection professionals, law enforcement, educators, medical providers, mental health professionals, policymakers, caregivers, and community members each have an important role. My message as professionals is to communicate, listen carefully, and never lose sight of the child safety. Research by Herbert and Bonfield supports the value of directly approaches, while Cody and Jackson demonstrates the improvement of carefully considering information from different resources. My message is to Policymaker is to support evidence-based programs, professional training, and accurate resources for children protection agencies. My message to communities is recognize warning signs and take serious concerns. Most importantly, my message to children survivors is that the abuse is not your fault and you deserve to be heard and protected. We can improve child protection when we prioritize safety, accountability, collaboration, and the voices of children.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.